Welcome back to Tips and Time Savers. My name is Danny Rocks. We'll continue our lesson on VLookups, and I'll use this as an opportunity to respond to a viewer who writes to say, Danny, I use Excel to calculate our employee payroll information. However, I end up having to manually input the information from our payroll sheet into each employee's payroll statements. Ouch! This takes up a lot of time, and I'm sure that Excel can do this for me, but I don't know how. Please show me how to do this. Well, what I first did was go out to the Excel website and I looked for a template, and sure enough I found a template called payroll. And in payroll there are three worksheets: the employee payroll statements, which is what the viewer wants to be able to bring in information electronically, as well as a worksheet that captures the employee information, the basic contact information, things that won't change frequently that we're going to use in our vertical lookup, as well as the payroll calculator. This would be information that we would pull in, let's say, from our time cards. Okay, let's show you how this works. This is what the viewer wants to be able to do. Let's start up here with basic information, the name. This is a vertical lookup. It's looking for H3 in this worksheet, in the payroll stub. And so this is our employee number. We would put each one of our numbers for each payroll sheet that we wanted. And it's going to look for a match inside the employee information worksheet in this table range. And notice that the range is written as an absolute cell reference with the dollar signs in front of the columns and the rows. The third argument, 2, means that the information for the name is going to be in the second column. The fourth argument, which we did not discuss in the last lesson, we've written in false, meaning that we're looking for an exact match. If we leave this blank or write in true, it will return an approximate match. In this case, we want either an exact match or for it to tell us false. Okay, let's see how this works. We're going to examine this VLookup. So here's our keying off cell. We want to find what will match H3 in the employee information table. And there in our table, notice that we have employee ID numbers in our left column, the first column. This is where vertical lookups go to find their match, only in that first column. And it's going in the first column for the match, and then the information that we want is in the second column. Let's see how this can work dynamically. Jane Jones, employee number 2, has just returned from her honeymoon and told payroll that she wants to use her married name. So she's now going to be called Jane Smith, and let's see how that works with the VLookup. Jane Smith was automatically picked up because of the VLookup. Most of the information on this payroll sheet is going to come from the employee information table, and it'll just be different columns, and if we want an exact match we type in false. Some of the other information will come from the payroll calculator worksheet. So in this case, for the hours worked, we're going to be looking at information in column 3. So coming over to the payroll calculator, in column 3, see, there's our match, column 3. If I change Jay's hours to 40 hours and then come back, there it is, it's changed. All right, let's try this in another worksheet. Let's go over to this worksheet, and rather than using employee ID numbers, this is a small company, we're using the first name. I don't recommend it, but it will work, especially for a smaller company. Okay, our first vertical lookup, our VLookup, is over here for the regular wages, and what we're doing is we're looking for the value in E4. So the value that we put in E4, we're going to be looking for that value in the first column of this table over here. And again, we select the information. So when we find the match, in this case for Andrew, then return the information from column 2, the standard hourly rate. And we're saying make that an exact match because we wrote in false. Then we closed off the parentheses and did a calculation. Once we find his standard hourly rate, then we want to multiply that by the hours worked. That's how it works. Let's write this for another employee, in this case Bob. So equals VLookup and the left parentheses. Then use Control A to bring up the function arguments. All right. So VLookup, what we want to look up is the reference in cell E5. Where are we going to look it up? We're going to look it up in the table array. And let's make that an absolute cell reference using F4. What do we want to look up? We want to look up the column index for the standard hourly rate, which is in column 2. And we do want to make this an exact match, so we will type in false. And now we'll finish the rest of our calculation up here in the formula bar. Then once we find the standard hourly rate, we want to times that by the hours that Bob actually worked. And click OK, and there we go. So it's that simple. So once we have everything picked up, let's just copy over all of our employees and paste them over here. And now, since we have the formula all set up, let's just copy this down all the way. And there we go. We have the information that we could then pull into our payroll stub. Okay, we'll see you in the next Tips and Time Savers.